Hello, my name is Jerron Vale from the Missouri Department of Higher Education and Workforce Development. Our equity project began a little over a year ago with a vision for addressing inequities and educational disparities for Missouri citizens. The department's desire is to build a careful process for addressing inequities and show our commitment toward equitable outcomes for all Missourians aligned with our vision to empower every Missourian with the skills and education needed for success. The Building Bridges series is an informative look at how Missouri's colleges, universities, and community organizations are addressing equity. We hope you learn from these shared experiences, and thank you again for joining us.
I'm introducing Ms. Candace Villanueva Greer. She's a college and career manager at Prep KC. Short bio, Ms. Candace manages college and career exploration experiences for Prep KC's partner schools. Prep KC is an education intermediary, a nonprofit that partners with 6 urban school districts and 4 charter schools across the bi-state KC region to support college and career readiness. Previously, she was the diversity recruiter at Johnson County Community College to support underrepresented students. She is passionate about creating post-secondary access and equity in education. She has a Bachelor of Arts in Human Services from Ottawa University and a Master's of Science degree in Organization Development with an Executive Leadership Certificate from Avila University. She is currently working on her doctorate in higher education administration at the University of Kansas. It's awesome, great. So thank you so much for being with us, Candace. Please take it away. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's all good.
Thank you all so much for having me. I'm very excited to discuss creating early conversations for students. And so I'm going to go ahead and start my slideshow here. And I know that we've, just to give you a roadmap of where the conversation will go today, I'll just give you another brief intro to who we are at Prep KC, discuss the importance of early college awareness, and also discuss, just from our experience, what we have seen go well for campus visits for elementary and middle school students. And I would love to take your questions here at the end. So who we are at Prep KC, as they mentioned, I am the college and career manager here, and I've been with Prep KC for 5 years. So our work has just really grown, and we are an education intermediary serving the Kansas City school districts across the bi-state region. So as it was mentioned, we do partner with 6 school districts, and you can see here in the blue areas our partnerships here, as well as 4 charter schools, which would include Crossroads Charter School, Allen Village, Hogan Prep, and Guadalupe Centers. And these requests, our partnerships, really start at the superintendent's request. So the work that we do is heavily prioritized within these school districts. We also only partner with school districts that have the highest concentration of students of color and students living in low-income households, since this is where we see the largest equity gaps. But we know that we are serving alongside culturally rich, diverse, and talented communities. So we have many students that are new American and refugee students, students that represent multiple cultures and are fluent in a variety of languages. This quote really aligns well with our mission from Lilo Jaina that says, "Talent is equally distributed throughout society, opportunity is not." And that's really part of our mission, is to help close these equity gaps. And of course, it's not something that we can do alone. We have to have community partners, post-secondary partners engaged in this work to make sure that we can help close these equity gaps. And we'll also just acknowledge and briefly discuss why these equity gaps exist today and how that is related to just how critical this work is, especially as it relates to post-secondary awareness. Our overall goal is to ensure that every student in our partnering districts are graduating with market value assets. This is a regional initiative, and these are post-secondary indicators of success. And essentially, students are graduating with more than their high school diploma. So they are considered graduating with a market value asset if they are able to complete an industry recognized credential, or if they are earning 9 or more college credit hours, or if they've completed an internship or client project, or we have added on being a recipient of a substantial scholarship like KC Scholars and Hope Scholarship, since we know that financial barriers are often a reason for not choosing to attend college. And we are able to support students to reach these goals by making sure that we are supporting the entire K-12 pipeline. So we do have three main strategies to support the K-12 pipeline. So one of those, the first ones, is to support a solid academic foundation through K-3 literacy and providing K-12 math supports. These are core subjects that are really important to help succeed in whatever post-secondary pathway they decide to pursue. Also within our work, our second strategy that I largely focus on is supporting the early college and career exploration as early as third grade. So helping students understand career options as well as college options, whether that is by bringing professionals into the classroom to talk about their careers, or working with businesses to organize worksite visits, or working with college partners to organize college visits. And then our third strategy is at the high school level, where we prepare students with immersive college and career opportunities to earn those market value assets. So all of our partnering school districts at the high school level do have career pathways that students can enroll in. So they could choose to enroll in an engineering and technology pathway, or an arts and communications pathway, or a health and human services pathway. And all of those is to give them immersive opportunities within those pathways to learn more about those careers. And just to kind of give you the scale of our work, even during a pandemic, we were able to pivot and provide many of these experiences virtually. So this past year, we worked really hard to think innovatively about how to make sure students are still able to connect with colleges and industry professionals and mentors to learn about these options. And so we were able to do that virtually. So this past year, we did engage 821 unique professionals to provide over 1,000 hours for over 1,000 virtual events. So we had a lot of opportunities going on during this past year and plan to do the same. There are some limited in-person opportunities, but our virtual opportunities have really just skyrocketed from what we learned this past year. And we actually were able to provide our elementary students with virtual college campus visits. So we were still able to have those conversations with them. Now, I believe it is important to first acknowledge why an organization like us, as well as others, need to exist to help close these equity gaps, and why we still see issues today. So there is this history of Kansas City's racial divide that causes us to still see issues today. We know that there's been a history of residential divide and hypersegregation of African American communities in our own city. KC has ranked high on indexes of racial segregation, which has disproportionately affected African American communities within the urban core. And just the history of racial covenants and redlining and blockbusting, and the federal government refusal to ensure mortgages for African American families has really perpetuated the issues we see today. And even when the Kansas City School Board back then approved to ensure schools remain segregated in 1955, created the truce divide. And so that is what makes our work in this very important, and being an ally with our schools and with our communities. So why start college and career conversations early? Why talk to elementary students about college options, or middle school students? Some people really gasp at this because they see it as we're kind of forcing students to choose college this early, and it's not about having them saying they need to go to this college or they have to go to a particular type of college early on. It's about helping them know about their options after high school earlier on, because research has shown time and time again that it's by middle school when students are deciding if school is relevant to their future or not. So we have to ensure that students realize it is relevant to your future before high school. Otherwise, it is too late. And even today, we still see across the board where college enrollment rates remain low for students of color, and particularly for Black students. And we know that the pandemic is widening these gaps, which makes this work even more important. There has been a lot of unfinished learning this past year. Also, just many education experts do recommend that we have to start the college conversations early. Hickman Mills School District and Grandview School Districts, their superintendents really prioritize their 4th and 5th grade students going on college visits. So we really help them streamline this work to make sure that every 4th grader and every 5th grader gets to see some type of college each year. So one year a 4th grader may see a community college, and another year they may see a large public institution, to learn that there are different types. And so this past summer, actually the summer before, we did meet with our Hickman Mills counselors to talk about the different experiences that students have received, what's most meaningful, how can we refine them. And when we started talking about the college visits, several of them shared that they are really important because it is at that age level where that may be their only exposure with college until they get to their junior and senior year. So that can be for a myriad of reasons. We know transportation can be an obstacle. If students are first generation, they just may not be having these conversations at home. So these visits, these college visits, are really during the school day to ensure that every student has that opportunity. And I just really want to hone in here that just throughout research, there's a lot of research that says that we have to have these opportunities early on, especially when it comes to college. One research author says that these early college outreach and academic enrichment in middle school is believed to increase aspirations, college awareness, engagement of students and families, ultimately leading to high school graduation and college enrollment. Also, middle school is just a key time for students because this is a time where they are growing, they're exploring, they are forming their identities, and all of that is highest during the middle school years. And all of those are essential to career development. So if we can help them make the connections to what they're interested in terms of careers and how college can help get them there, it is really about connecting the dots for them to see, okay, this is why I need to persist through math, or this is why I need to persist through whatever tough class it may be. It really helps support their self-efficacy. And finally, just for our student population, particularly for students of color, students in low-income households, there is just the gap that we continue to see. And so having these opportunities are particularly important for this student demographics and what socioeconomics status is. So now just diving into more specifically what we have seen going well for elementary and middle school students. We have been doing this now for a couple years, and sometimes just getting in the door with our college partners to open their doors and seeing how these can look effective on their campus visits and why they should talk to younger students besides high school students. We've been able to get some experience from this. So one thing, and this comes from students, we survey students, we also talk frequently with counselors, and we also debrief with our post-secondary partners. So from what we've heard, the students love to see different types of colleges and are actually surprised that there are different types of colleges. They love meeting with diverse college students. That representation piece is really, really important because that helps them see that they can see themselves on a college campus. Love eating on campus. It's not just because your food is good, which I'm sure it is, but it's that experience of doing something that a real college student would do. So any experiences they can have during the campus visit that a college student would have helps really make it realistic for them. Seeing dorms. It's always fun to see their reaction to the dorms because they're actually really surprised that students sleep on campus and that they may not go home. And that helps them see this is not the school, this is not like your school that you're in now. This college is different. The experience is different. So when they get to learn that they can decorate their dorms, that they have roommates, that they sleep there, that's a really fun thing for them to learn about. Interactive games. This is where we always encourage our post-secondary partners that the typical admissions presentation is not going to be effective for this age group, but we do at Prep KC have suggested interactive games to do with students to learn about college terms. Campus tour, I believe that's a given. They love to see your campus, and it's really important that it is led by a student ambassador, especially a student ambassador that represents our students. Guided scavenger hunts, those are really fun activities for students. We have come across where our post-secondary partners may not be able to provide a guide for them, but it really is more effective if they're able to meet with a student. And just that near peer experience is something that resonates really well with them. And self-exploration activities. As I mentioned, they are learning about themselves, forming their identities. We've seen research that says that if students decide that they don't like math or they don't see themselves in a particular career, that does affect them well into their high school years. So, and when they're able to learn about what they're interested in, that's really important. So one way to kind of fill in for that admissions presentation is we help provide an activity where they can complete a career interest form. And then based on their career interest, the presenter has a slideshow that has the majors that relate to those career types. So then students are making the connections between their career interest and learning about what majors are and how college can help bridge their career interest. So our overall goal with this, again, is not making students feel like they have to go to college or that they have to commit to that already, but it's about giving them just that broad introduction of a post-secondary options, whether that is a 2-year program, a 4-year program or more, and learning about their options after high school and really becoming proactive about their own education and understanding that there are options for them after high school and things to look forward to. And some things we do work with our college partners on to make sure students are walking away with are these key messages that college is for you. It is relevant to your career interest. It's academically and financially realistic. And I'd like to just expand on that a little bit. That academically piece, I was actually just speaking with some students yesterday, and one of the questions they tend to ask about college is it stressful? How hard is it? Will I have a lot of homework? Will I be able to keep up? And so from an early age, they really are concerned about how tough college is and if they can do it. And so helping them understand that, yes, you can. And it's about building those important study habits now that will really help you succeed in college later. And financially realistic. You'd be surprised how at this age, even at the elementary age, I've heard students say, how much does it cost to go here? I don't know if my family can afford this. And so helping them realize how families can afford college, scholarship opportunities, and just ways that they can start preparing now to save up for college. We never recommend going into your financial specific packages, your FAFSA or financial aid packages, but just in general, what are ways that make college financially reasonable and realistic? And college is an opportunity to meet new people, try new things, and especially that there are things that they can be doing now to prepare for college. And Prep KC support. We actually really need more support in this area. It does seem like trying to get elementary and middle school students on the college campuses is kind of difficult, because I know that each campus has its own priorities. They have only so many resources, but it is getting a little harder now to find more partners in this work. And those that have opened the doors, we just continue to get more requests the more that our educators know how important this is. And so we just need more partners in this work. And what we as an intermediary make it easy is that we help structure this day. We help provide our recommendations for what can go well, and to think creatively, because it does require creative thinking to engage students further down in the pipeline. And with our schools, with our partnering schools, we do make sure that students are prepared for these visits. That way they do make the most of the experience, and providing that post-work curriculum for our schools, because these cannot just be one-time experiences. These have to be experiences that become integrated into the classroom to be meaningful. So if you are interested in working with any of our partnering school districts and providing these opportunities, I really hope that we can work together on this. So just again, that leads me to my recommendations. Please consider working and partnering with Prep KC, because it's not something we can do alone. And if you are an institution that is more than an hour away, we do have virtual opportunities, since we fortunately figured out how to do that during the pandemic. So whether that is in person or virtual, there is that option. If you can't bring students to your campus for some reason, we have plenty of opportunities to visit their school and talk about college options, because we do organize numerous career days with all of our schools. And so we always want to include that college piece. One thing that we do consistently here when trying to grow our partnerships in this work is that they would love to do it, but there may be high turnover in the admissions office, or the admissions representatives are just stretched already thin with their territories. So we ask again to think creatively outside of the box about connecting us with another department. We've connected with engineering departments to at least get students' feet in the door to see a college campus, or even working with a multicultural student organization or any student organization that would be interested in bringing students to campus. And importantly, ensuring diversity is represented on your campus and when engaging for students. I can't stress enough how important that representation is for our students. And in this picture, you can see students eating lunch at KU. They're really enjoying it. They just had a really great day from that experience. And just to share some quotes with you from some of these visits, students have said, "This opened more doors for me to explore. This showed me that I should really pay attention to what classes I'm taking and what I enjoy the most. This changed my opinion about some careers that I would have never thought to look into. I will look into how to have a successful future. I will work hard to get into a good college." So these experiences are meaningful for students. Our counselors know that. And I believe it's also getting our post-secondary partners on board with this, because traditionally and I know because I've worked in admissions too, that our focus is high school students. but we truly do have to break out of the norms and be open to talking with younger students, and knowing that if we really want to prioritize and value diversity on college campuses, we have to start earlier to make sure that students feel supported by engaging in these experiences, and knowing that, yeah, this is definitely possible if they choose to do so. So I've talked a lot. I would love to hear questions from you, or just even a dialogue about, I'm always curious to get more feedback from our college partners of what do you think about early college visits? What red tape do you think you might see there? Or just if you want to answer, what did you know about college before high school? And so I open it up to
Sorry.
you all.
Hey, sorry, I have myself muted also.
Oh, that's okay.
I should be used to this, but all right.
Me too.
Yeah, thank you so much for your presentation. That was awesome. A lot of great information. We do have a couple questions. Do you partner with admissions offices to set up college visits? I'm in academic affairs, and I don't know if our admissions area has collaborated with Prep KC.
We do typically start with admissions, and I guess I should clarify that most of our partners are within our local area of KC. So any further than that, I just would still love to make those connections and work with those partners. But mostly our connection with colleges is through admissions, but we always want to expand into other departments as well.
Great, thank you. And I believe we do have your contact information inside the webinar, so which will be posted, so schools can access that as well if they don't reach out to you directly.
Okay.
Yeah. So another question here: can you talk more about IRCs and what some of your conversations with students about leaving high school with a credential it looks like, and the benefit it provides? So the IRCs are industry recognized credentials. So could you talk a little bit about that? You talk with high schools about those credentials that they receive at the high school level, and how they're able to take that training and move it on either to a career or more education.
Absolutely, yes. So part of our staff really does focus on the career academies within our schools, and making sure that within the academies that students are aware of ways that they can earn these IRCs. And it's also another way that we can partner with colleges too, to make sure that students are receiving these opportunities. But one thing that we would really like to start doing is to have some of the high school students who are working on IRCs talk to younger students, middle school students, about what those are and the opportunities that it can open for them.
Yeah, absolutely. That's awesome opportunity to kind of reach back and help those students that are actually coming through the pipeline. Another question for me, because I know I went to Webster Groves High School in St. Louis, and we had our high school counselor was able to kind of had a program where she took several students that were kind of within that gap of not really sure what they wanted to do, transition out of high school, if they want to go to college, go to work or whatnot, just kind of floating through high school. I happened to be one of those students, those knuckleheads that just didn't want to learn. But anyway, the program was they actually took us to Lincoln University, and that was really the first exposure I had to, like, okay, because a lot of students that went to Webster that I knew went to Lincoln.
Yeah.
I met with the council, high school, the college presidents, and so forth and so on, and staff members. It's like, okay, maybe I can actually do this. Of course, a lot of high schools their counselors aren't able to develop, to put in that kind of time to do those kinds of things. So how does Prep KC kind of work with those high school counselors in developing those kind of opportunities and supporting the counselors with the work that you do?
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. So, yeah, counselors just have so much on their plates, and that's really where we help to fill those gaps of opportunities that they're looking to have for their students, but just may not have those connections or the time to be able to kind of organize those and streamline them. So, we do, again, work with the entire K-12 pipeline. So, I will work with elementary and middle school counselors to think about their college and career goals for students, and making sure that we are able to organize those events for students, whether those are in school or off-site, if those are worksite visits or college campus visits. And working will be the intermediary between the business or the college partner to make sure that everything's getting scheduled and organized, to help out with those arrangements, and as well as high school. So again, that's one of the benefits of being that kind of liaison between the post-secondary partner or the business and the schools, is just making sure that they are connected, that since we work with a variety of multiple school districts, we've seen what works well in one school, what hasn't gone well. So our team really does just have a wealth of experience of what works well for students, and what goes well for our industry partners and post-secondary partners. So it really is just fostering those connections and making sure that our counselors are aware of the opportunities, and getting their students into those opportunities.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you. Do you have a variety of college visits, such as public university, community college, private liberal arts, university, and vocational technical colleges? So do you kind of are those visits basically tailored to those campuses that you visit?
Yes, we do make sure to have a variety, that students can have an option to visit. So we want to make sure that they are aware of our local community colleges, that they're aware of the HBCUs. And I continue to try and expand our outreach to make sure that we have those post-secondary partners on board, to engage in our experiences with students.
Great, great. And could you talk a little bit of some of the work you mentioned, employers? Can you talk a little bit of some of the work you do with employers?
Yeah.
Are you getting into that space, and how does that work out?
Absolutely. So our work with the employers also starts very early on. Actually, just to give you an example, Holland 1916, they're a manufacturing company. They consistently host worksite visits for elementary and middle school students. And lately it's been virtual, but they will give them a tour of the facility, and then they'll discuss some simple math problems and how that relates to their careers. So depending on the age level, we'll work with our industry partners to come up with an agenda for that day, whether that's a full day or a half day, about what they can show them at their facility or work site, and components that are relatable to to what they're learning in class. And also making sure that there are hands-on opportunities, and thinking about what those activities would look like, and making sure that our students are prepared for those visits. So it really, with our industry partners, it's really about visiting their workplaces, but we also have immersive partnerships where they are providing internships or job shadows, helping with the IRCs, or being a strategic partner in one of our pathways, like State Street really partners with us with our business and finance pathway students. Honeywell is a big partner when it comes to STEM careers. So some partners are more immersive than others, so it just kind of depends on the capacity of the industry partner.
On that question of IRCs, going back to that, some work we're trying to figure out at the department level. We have IRCs, and there's the difference between transferring for education or employment, those kind of questions. How do you sort of build a framework or a pathway once students, or if they have a collection of those IRCs, or teaching them how to get those IRCs? Have institutions and employers been really open to accepting those kind of trainings, and really helping students out with either furthering their education or getting on board as to a company?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I will preface that since I heavily focus more on the early college and career
Mhm.
opportunities and not on our high school immersive experiences, which is what that would fall under, my quick answer is that we do think strategically with Kaufman about what those experiences look like and how to partner with industries and making sure that our career academies team is working with our teachers and our schools to develop the curriculum within those pathways to make sure they're meeting those IRCs, and also partnering with industries to know what is it that industries are looking for. So that's kind of my quick answer. I'm sorry I don't have, I wish I do need to
No,
have
it's
more
okay.
details about that question.
No, that's all right. That's okay.
Andy,
That's not a problem. That's not a problem. No, with the early college, with you mentioned in your presentation that you had some of the feedback that the students were asking those kind of questions of is this for me, and how is the work hard and so forth. Um, do you have any as you work with those younger students, what are some success stories that you could kind of talk about, that you've seen that they've actually been able to kind of have those conversations with their parents to help them move forward in their education?
yeah, really great question. So we will follow up to students to see kind of where they're at and how they're doing and making sure that more students are on track. And what we've seen from our own data is that we have seen more students coming on track with being able, and we hope to meet our goals for our MBAs later this year. But one immediate thing that we've noticed is that students will consistently say afterwards that they just didn't realize that these opportunities even existed. And our teachers will also share that they'll see students within the next year and they will remember those visits. It's actually been kind of funny because when we have our career days for students, if for some reason a volunteer is not available, I'll go ahead and step in and talk to students. And they will remember from the year before when they went to that visit to KU or Johnson County Community College. And then we end up talking about that. And it's really fun for them to see that even a year later, they still remember that experience.
Awesome, great, thank you.
Yeah,
My apologies. We did have another question. Miss Brianna Dalton
yeah,
unmuted herself to
yeah.
ask a question. Sorry about that, Miss Dalton. Did you have a question you wanted to ask?
Hi, yeah, I actually had two. So my question was, how do you get what am I trying to say? Oh, how do you how do you get your staff or the people around you in your buildings to be more motivated for the early college planning? Because it's some teachers, but they're more so like the ELA teachers that they'll help the students with the Common App or do college applications, which I'm talking about on a high school level. But I'm saying, what do you suggest? Because you do have a lot of teachers. It shouldn't be a lot, but some of them say, oh, they're not going to college. You don't have to worry about them, or why are we talking to them? Just kind of like a pessimistic outlook. So what do you say to get your work culture like more included with the early college visit?
Yeah, that's also a really great question because that teacher buy-in, that counselor buy-in is so crucial to this work as well. And I really think it just is about the benefits of having our support is that they know they're not alone in this work. And one of the benefits of this being a request of the superintendent and having a memorandum of understanding with each of our partnering school districts really sets that tone that this is work that has to be prioritized. There's time set aside for it. We're helping, you have support from us to make these experiences happening and making the connection. So it's really just knowing that they have the support. And also I think what helps us just to make sure that they continue to feel invigorated about this work and not burned out is continuing to share with them just what students are saying after the experience. And that's why we really believe in surveying our students and collecting that feedback and collecting the data to show that this is changing the trajectory for students. So their work in it is very important.
Thank you. Yes, I agree. So I do think that it's very beneficial that you all are doing early college planning, and I'm excited to see the work that you all do to continue to get better.
Yeah, and part of having the counselors or teachers chaperone these experiences is that we ask them not just to chaperone, but to also see it as a professional development opportunity where they're learning about updated information about these colleges or about these workplaces and bringing it back into the classroom.
Awesome. Great. Thank you, Ms. Dahl, for your question. Really appreciate it. Thank you for this. Another question we have, do you engage with students' families, and have you heard feedback from the families that families for the students that are in the program or have been in the program?
Yeah, so really at the high school level, we do support family advocacy work. We don't work directly with families, but we make sure that there is that opportunity where teachers and students have the opportunity to make sure that families are involved in this work too, because that's also a critical piece of it. So while our work is more reaching out to industry partners and college partners and working with school administrators, we also help to make sure that within the school day, there is that family advocacy component built into there and how to make the most effective use of that family advocacy time. Because some schools do struggle to think about how to make the best use of that time.
Great, great, awesome. Going back to, you said you might be interested in having high school students kind of go back and help students at early college. That might be something you may get into. Do you have several of those high school students that have gone on to complete? Have they contacted you and just kept you updated as far as I'm in this program at this university or this college? Do you get that kind of feedback? Are you interested in collecting that kind of feedback?
We do actually. I don't believe we were able to get any this past year, but the previous year, we did have several of our alumni from career academies, just having a focus group with them and talking about where they're at now and what made a difference for them. So we actually do have several slides of students who have shared that information. And one of my colleagues also had been researching, working more with the alumni and studying just kind of where they're at today. So that's actually something that's a little bit of a newer piece to our work.
Great, great. Thank you. Another question here. I know that KC is a unique metro with its work on both sides of the state line, but I'm hearing KU and Johnson County Community College. Are there Missouri institutions participating with KC Prep?
Yes, not as far as St. Louis. We do get some of the HBCUs like Harris-Stowe or Lincoln University, but typically we will have University of Missouri, University of Central Missouri, Missouri Western, Northwest Missouri State. So we do have several of so if the colleges have a local admissions representative, that's kind of our way to connect with them. But those are our typical. So I would love to expand further in Missouri, especially since now we know that we can have a lot of these experiences virtual too. And our students also want to know about other schools that are further out. So we just weren't able to know how to include that before. But now we do. And so we want to grow those partnerships.
Great, great. Another comment asks, how about MCC? I'm guessing that's
Yes.
Metropolitan Community College. Do you have communications with them also, or partnerships?
All of the campuses, great partner in every way with dual college credit, early college visits, the gamut. So.
Great, great. Awesome. I believe that's, unless I'm missing anything Sarah, I believe that's the only questions I see. Well, observer comment, does anyone have a question that they want to unmute themselves and ask? Really quick?
And I'm just curious from the audience too, if
Yeah.
if they foresee any reason why elementary or middle school students can't visit their colleges, or is anyone actually consistently welcoming younger students on campus?
That's great. Anybody want to respond to that? Anybody else want to mute themselves? Mark. Okay, great. Please do so.
Yeah. Prior to coming to the Missouri After School Network, I was a program director for 21st Century Community Learning Center grantee grant program, and we had a relationship with our local community college, Ozarks Technical Community College, in the Branson area, and they were welcome. They welcomed students, as well as College of the Ozarks, which is located in Hollister, so right there at Point Lookout. So I think when you make that connection and you let them know why you're doing it, especially when you're serving underserved populations, to try to help them get that foothold in understanding what their future can look like. We talk about, the goal is to help them, realize their future hopes and dreams and build into them over the course of time. I think they're really open to it, but it does take that extension of that relationship to reach out to them and then help them understand why you're doing it for 5th and 6th graders, or 4th, 5th, and 6th graders when you do those college visits.
It does, require that advocacy. Just again, it's traditionally it's not usually done. So why start doing it? Why expend those resources and time to welcome 50 4th graders on your campus? So
well, and I think sometimes, and this is the other part of it, I think often what college folks don't realize is it does need to start earlier, specifically for those from working poor and poverty communities or situations, because as they get older, often they may have these huge dreams early on, but what happens is life takes over. And the more and more they get older, if they're not being reinforced by not only, and then building that relationship with the family unit as well, to help them understand the possibilities, specifically from a fiscal or financial perspective, that as they get older, then slowly but surely those dreams begin to subside, and we got to make sure we keep instilling in them those relationships, those peer relationships, and those folks that can encourage them in that regard. And we need to start as early as possible in that.
absolutely.
I would like to add that, and I'm an architect who just works with school buildings. I would like to add that students, like even from better family backgrounds, also need that exposure, because sometimes those dreams may not be mentored as much by their parents or family, and they can lose the dreams, like when they are in 8th grade or high school, or seeing other students, they may not be motivated enough to join colleges. So I think that exposure will help for all sides of the community.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Any other responses?
I was going to give a shout out to MCC. I don't work there anymore, but since probably 2013, 2014, MCC and UMKC have both partnered with Kansas City Public School District for what's called Kids to College, where they bring in April, they bring every 6th grader from the district onto the both campuses. And it's, funding has changed and things like that. It used to be funded by Sally Mae. The Sally Mae Foundation had a grant. Once the grant went away, the program changed a little bit, but as far as I know, they're still doing it. At least they were doing it up until 2020. And, they had to, limit on-campus opportunities. But again, it's just an example of just a great commitment to young people in Kansas City Public Schools, and that partnership hopefully will continue. So if there's anybody on here from UMKC or KCPS, just a big shout out. Great program. And that's usually typically about 900 6th graders. So if you can imagine.
Wow. Yeah.
I feel like this is also a great opportunity for other institutions, like higher ed institutions, to open their doors to new recruits who are coming down the line. Like, you are essentially strengthening your recruitment procedure, not only through high school, but also beyond, like early on. So students are already thinking about colleges they have already visited, and not necessarily thinking about colleges that are not that they are not aware of, never visited or something like that. If they have already visited this, they know, like they are, like, I think there is a seed of awareness already planted there. And that's where it helps with the recruitment process with the higher ed institutions. So it should be beneficial both ways. Like it's not just one way that you are supporting students to encourage enrollment, but you are essentially creating a pipeline of future enrollment throughout your education system.
Cool.
Agree. Yeah, it's I know a lot of campuses are looking to increase their enrollments, and part of that strategy should be talking to students a lot younger, because since by middle school, if they decide this just isn't for me, then it's a lot harder as they get older. So I know for me, I feel passionate about this because I did visit a college when I was in fifth grade, and I was privileged to do so. And that was an experience that just stuck with me throughout my academic career. And I just knew I want to aspire to be on a college campus. So.
Great, cool. Thank you so much. Just a couple comments we have in there. We did put in the comments the registration that's open for Hear Me, See Me, our department's Equity Summit, which is later on in October. So you've got a link there for that if you're interested in coming. And also, we had another comment about children's theater programs are a great opportunity to get students on campus and make a day of it. State Fair Community College is doing a good job at that. Have you had experience with, thank you, Gina, for that. That's actually really cool opportunity there. Do you have any other divisions within colleges reach out to you, like a theater department or I think you mentioned a diversity and inclusion division within that university or college? Have you had different, organizations on campus reach out to you to kind of help in your work?
Yeah, as I mentioned previously, when admissions wasn't able to provide admissions ambassadors, we actually connected with the engineering department, and that worked just as well. Another one would be, yeah, the performing arts, like at Johnson County Community College. They've been able to get us on campus, although their general admission staff is really great too. We've also had, oh, it just escaped me. We've had one student organization work with us to bring students onto campus. So there are definitely other ways beyond the general admissions staff and representatives to help us get our foot on a campus. There are other ways that we would love to collaborate with other departments. We also have Honeywell partners with us to make sure that we have access to HBCUs across the country and their departments in engineering and STEM departments. So they will actually pay to have those departments come and visit and talk with students about their programs. So that's a pretty unique partnership, but I would love to just expand having other partnerships within an institution.
Great, thank you. Another comment here is that big shout out to State Tech, who's done a lot of work with bringing students on campus. Thank you, Mark, for that. So there's several institutions doing a lot of work at expanding and bringing students on campus to help them learn about those opportunities. So it's great. That's really awesome. Any other questions or comments? I think that's, unless I'm missing anything, that's all the questions we have at the moment. Cool. I think we're good then. All right. Awesome. A few minutes early. Cool. Thank you so much, Candace, for your time. This has been really awesome. A lot of great information. Your organization is doing some great work. Again, we have our contact information. I think it's within the slides here, but also we can get that to you if you want to reach out to the department or reach out to Candace personally through the direct message here in the chat. But we'll get that information out to you. So for contact. So thank you so much, Candace, for your time. Thank you all for being here. And again, we really appreciate you coming today. Thank you again, Candace. Thank you for meeting with us today.
I appreciate it, and thank you all for your time today and your questions.
Awesome. Great. Take care, everyone. Thank you so much. This webinar will be up later on this week, probably. So take care, and we'll see you next month. Thank you again.